Welcome back to Top 10 Tunes. Today we're going to be looking at the top 10 Foo Fighters songs of all time.
Coming in at number 10 is Something from Nothing. Opening the Sonic Highways album is this gradually built track about inspiration and following a spark of inspiration to its conclusion. Recorded in Chicago at Electrical Audio with controversial producer and musician Steve Albini. Something from Nothing is centered around the revered history of blues-based musicians and punk bands that defined the work ethic of the Chicago music scene. Featuring Cheap Trick's Rick Nelson on guitar, the song doesn't distract from the sound of the Foo Fighters, but rather exemplify the band opening their horizons to inspiration from otherwise disparate music centers. Taking the number 9 spot is the Sky is a Neighborhood from Concrete and Gold. This ode to the stars and the questioning of outer space life introduced the previously unheard sounds of psychedelic rock to the Foo Fighters' repertoire. Specifically, the lyrics of intergalactic communication and the uncertainty of the future were beyond Dave Grohl's typically introspective approach, and the plotting, almost tentative development explodes into the song's chorus. The Sky is a Neighborhood proved that even later in their career, the Foo Fighters had new ground to cover. At number 8 is the explosive and passionate Best of You. 2005's In Your Honor saw the band having 2 distinct sounds and arrangements, and highlighting these in their live show, a hard rock performance and more intimate acoustic affair. Best of You surprisingly incorporated both. The song is one of their most bombastic and unrelenting performances instrumentally, but lyrically and vocally, the song is incredibly vulnerable and doesn't hang on to the tropes associated with hard rock. Even in the post-grunge climate of the 2000s, Best of You represented a big band wearing their heart on their sleeve and doing so in an otherwise aggressive context. Coming in at number 7 is The Pretender from Echoes. Silence, Patience, and Grace. After creating 2 separate performance identities for the band on this album, saw Dave Grohl and company mixing the delicate approach of acoustic music with their hard rock sound. This mix appeared briefly at the top of The Pretender, the calm before the impending storm. The rest of the song is an impassioned declaration of defiance in the face of opposing beliefs. While it would be simple to imply a political overtone to the song, The Pretender simply exists as a challenge to the opposition of the narrator and to the fan base of the Foo Fighters at large. Taking the number 6 spot is the Beatlesque Big Me from the self-titled album Foo Fighters. While this debut album recorded entirely by Dave Grohl was thoroughly grounded in the alternative rock sounds of 1995, Big Me highlighted a traditional sense of songwriting that had been ingrained in Grohl's songwriting sensibilities. While at face value, the song may come across as either cheesy or too lighthearted, there's a sincerity and simplicity to Big Me that has endeared it across the band's career and retains its charm to this day. Rounding out number 5 is the uplifting and happy-go-lucky Learn to Fly. By the recording of There's Nothing Left to Lose in 1999, the Foo Fighters had gone through major lineup changes and questioned the future of the band after their breakthrough record The Color and the Shape. Spearheaded by Learn to Fly, the Foo Fighters aimed to channel an AM Gold record, an album inspired by the soft rock radio albums of the 1970s, by taking a more soft-spoken vocal approach and catchier melodies in the arrangement than usual. The Foo Fighters were able to have a rock song that could coexist with the musically introspective pop acts of the time and not feel out of place, despite the vintage-inspired aesthetic they were going. At number 4 is the foreshadowing sophomore song, My Hero. This song was not only the indication of Dave Grohl songwriting being more than just a flash in the pan, but a recognizable style and approach that would help to define the sound that the Foo Fighters are known for. Heavily drum-oriented, My Hero would be an indicator of the ability and recognizable style of the 3 drummers in the Foo Fighters' history. William Goldsmith, Dave Grohl himself, who played on the original recording, and the late great Taylor Hawkins. Becoming an anthem for the idols and inspirations in our lives, My Hero endures through an everlasting sentiment. Coming in at number 3 is the rejuvenating Times Like These. Taken from 2002's One by One, Times Like These is the sound of Dave Grohl refusing to let the Foo Fighters break up or fade into obscurity. Despite the album coinciding with increased tensions within the band and Grohl's predominant interest as being the interim drummer for Queens of the Stone Age, times like these announced a reinvigorated band with a stable band lineup for the first time since their formation. Even the subtle use of a 7/4 signature introduced a fresh approach to their tried and true sound and would precede further experimentation as modern rock's most high-profile band. Taking our number 2 spot is the most intense song in the Foo Fighters repertoire, All My Life. Sitting alongside times like these on the One by One album, All My Life shares the reinvigorated spirit, but with an impassioned and in some respects, impatient fervor. The rhythmic interplay of the whisper, quiet vocal, and chugging guitar set up the jerking and frantic verse section, only to be whipped from a quiet pre-chorus back into a loud chorus. These dynamics are reminiscent of the loud, quiet songwriting of grunge bands of the 1990s, and considering Dave Grohl's history in Nirvana places the Foo Fighters as the prime successor to this. All My Life remains a live staple of the Foo Fighters force as a live act. And our number 1 pick is arguably the Foo Fighters' signature song, Everlong. Written as a Sonic Youth style riff, and at a time of personal and romantic turmoil for Dave Grohl, Everlong exists in between the alternative and mainstream rock realms. Yet its accessibility and general familiarity across the public has allowed it to flourish. It has been performed by the Foo Fighters both in electric and acoustic formats. It has been named by talk show host David Letterman as his favorite song and has even been requested to be performed by Bob Dylan himself. Ultimately considered one of the greatest living songwriters, it may not have been written during turmoil, comebacks, or even the band's beginning, but Everlong has become synonymous with the band and their most beloved era of songwriting.